Hello, and welcome back to Top of the Line. I'm Nick Lynch.
And I'm Ben Heltzer.
In this episode today, we will go over everything that happened during Week 6 of the NFL, including major upsets, returning stars, and our picks for Game of the Week. So let's go. So Ben, the Kansas City Chiefs, they continue their win streak over the Denver Broncos with their win over Thursday night against the Broncos 19-8. So what'd you think of that game?
I mean, I think the Chiefs' offense was obviously firing on all cylinders. Travis Kelce played amazing. Mahomes and Kelce, as long as they're in the team, that offense is going to be one of the best in the league. And they now go to 16 straight wins against the Broncos. So I don't know what's going on in Denver. I really thought they were going to be better this season, and maybe they could still turn it around, but so far it's not looking good for them.
Yeah, I mean, for the Chiefs, the Taylor Swift effect is coming into play very well there. But yeah, for the Chiefs, they are just an unstoppable team. After their Week 1 loss against the Lions, they've won every game since, and they've kind of figured it out. Their offense is good, their defense is good. I don't think there's any problems with the Chiefs right now.
Yeah, and they haven't put up the most points in the league, obviously, but they've done enough to get by, and that's what you got to do to get the win. And I'm sure that they'll keep that mentality every week, and they'll finish the season strong.
All right, so the next thing we're going to talk about, the 49ers and the Eagles are both upset by teams who are not leading the division. So the Browns beat the 49ers with that missed field goal by the 49ers at the end of that game. So what did you think of that?
I mean, it was definitely not Brock Purdy's best game. It was probably one of his worst games that he's ever played, but he stepped up when they needed him. I mean, he led the potential game-winning drive down into field goal range, but, their rookie kicker couldn't make it. And, I'm not entirely worried about the Niners, but they do have some key players on offense that are hurt, McCaffrey and Debo. I don't know how long they'll be out yet, but, I'm sure the Niners can bounce back.
Well, I mean, those injuries, yeah, that definitely killed the 49ers. But also, with Brock Purdy in the weather in Cleveland, it was raining. He's not used to playing in that weather, since he was at Iowa State, and he's kind of he was back in that weather on Sunday, and he just couldn't perform well in the Browns' defense. It looked like they were stopping Purdy every single drive, basically.
Yeah, and I mean, the Browns' defense is probably one of, if not the best in the league right now. And I'm sure the 49ers will get back on track. However, the Eagles, I don't know what was going on. I mean, they're used to playing up in the Northeast, especially in MetLife, because they play there once a year. And I mean, Jalen Hurts on third down, instead of running the ball or even throwing it away, he throws it, and it's an awful interception, and it just gives the Jets a great field position to go down and score the go-ahead touchdown. I don't know what was happening in Philadelphia.
Yeah, 3 interceptions for Jalen Hurts that game, but and the Eagles were held scoreless in the second half in New Jersey. But so the Carolina Panthers struggle again. They're 0-6. They're the only team who doesn't have a win this season, but their offense is being carried by Adam Thielen right now, and but it's a new problem every week for the Panthers. So what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it seems like 1 week it's coaching, the next week it's bad quarterback play, and Adam Thielen has been consistent throughout the whole year so far, which you expect from a veteran receiver, but he's not going to be enough, and they need to all be in sync and firing on all cylinders in order for them to get their first win.
Yeah, I mean, with Bryce Young, too, he's been sacked a lot of times this year. And also in the preseason, he's been sacked a bunch of times. And the offensive line, they admit that it was their fault. And, when you have the first overall pick in the draft, Bryce Young, that's not going to help him, It's kind of like the Chicago Bears with Justin Fields. Justin Fields, I feel like he does everything himself. He doesn't have a lot of help around him. And that's why the Bears lose games, and the same thing is happening with Carolina.
Yeah, those two teams are definitely in very similar positions, and I mean, it makes sense with how bad their O-lines are, and it makes sense that they're two of the worst teams in the league right now.
Panthers, they lose to Atlanta Week 1, New Orleans Week 2, Miami last week, the Lions, and a few other teams. So Well, Cooper Kupp is officially back for the LA Rams after coming back last week, coming off the injured reserve. So what do you think of his performance on Sunday?
I mean, I think he's played absolutely amazing. He hasn't skipped a beat since his injury. He's already over 200 yards, and he has a touchdown in just 2 games. He's averaging over 100 yards a game, and I'm sure he's going to continue this for the rest of the entire season. And it definitely brought the Rams offense to life, and I think the Rams are true contenders right now for a playoff spot.
I mean, it's funny because the first 4 weeks of the season, I feel like with Puka Nacua, he has kind of replaced Cooper Kupp, and everyone thought that Cooper Kupp was not going to get as much targets because of now Puka Nacua coming up in that Rams receiving core. And then with Cooper Kupp, he dominated the Cardinals on Sunday.
Yeah, and I mean, it sucks for Nacua because a lot of his targets have been taken away, but I mean, I'm happy for Kupp because he hasn't skipped a beat, and he's right back where he was. And him and Stafford are one of the best QB receiver duos in the league, and I'm sure the Rams are going to be great moving forward.
Yeah. Well, all right, it's time for Game of the Week. So, Ben, who's your pick for Game of the Week?
I think there was a lot of good games. I mean, you got the Eagles-Jets game, the Bills-Giants game, and the game last night, the Cowboys versus the Chargers, but I'm going to go with the Niners-Browns game. I think the Browns just came in hot without Deshaun Watson, without Nick Chubb, and sure, the Niners had injuries on offense as well, but the Browns were just able to get it done. Their defense was amazing, and I think it was a great upset.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. But for my pick for Game of the Week, I'm going to go with the other upset with the New York Jets beating the Philadelphia Eagles because, the Eagles, they were scoring in that first half, and, I wanted to see if the Jets could come back, and then they score another touchdown. They get a few turnovers, and, and the Jets, they did finally come back at the end. But, yeah, it was just exciting to watch.
Yeah, I think both of those upset games were definitely 2 of the best games of the week.
I agree. Well, that's all we have for today, but don't go anywhere because when we come back, Matt and Noah will talk about what happened last weekend in college football. So stay right here, and we'll see you next week.
Welcome back to Polifonte's predictions on Top of the Line. We got a lot to talk about this week. Let's start with the game that I was most excited for last week. The Washington Huskies coming on top against the Oregon Ducks. Great call with that one, Noah. My biggest takeaway was Oregon's inability to convert fourth downs cost them the game. What did you think of that final decision to not punt the ball on the final drive?
I think that's the kind of decision that ruins games, if not seasons. I mean, Oregon had all the momentum in that game and going into the game. Just Washington executed themselves better. And talking on that line, my biggest takeaway from that game is Michael Penix Jr., the quarterback for Washington. I think he just put himself to the top of Heisman contention, even with, especially with Caleb Williams, going down in that game and not doing very well versus Notre Dame. I feel like Michael Penix Jr. really elevated himself in that game.
On to the next big showdown. Notre Dame absolutely throttled USC. Caleb Williams struggled all game taking care of the ball. I personally was shocked by the final score. What were your thoughts?
I was shocked because USC this whole season has had a lot of momentum going into every game. And Caleb Williams just didn't do what he had to. I mean, this USC team just looked weak against the Notre Dame team that just came off a loss against a team that wasn't even ranked. And showed no heart, no dedication from Caleb Williams, and I feel like this really set him back.
Looking ahead to next week, there's one game that is bigger than the rest. Undefeated Penn State travels to Columbus to take on the undefeated Buckeyes. Noah, who do you got this monumental Big Ten? Who do you got in this monumental?
Penn State, but this is Ohio State's game to win. I mean, Ohio State has just looked super solid all year. Not saying Penn State hasn't. Ohio State right now is the team to beat besides Georgia and Michigan, and they need to keep catapulting themselves into this top 3, if not the top 2, and even first place in the whole country. So I feel like they come onto this game with the chip in their shoulder, and they come and absolutely dominate.
Yeah, personally, I have Ohio State because, I have Ohio State at home. Tune in, see the recap from Week 8, but don't go anywhere because when we come back, Noah and Rocco will be talking about wrestling on Top of the Line.
Hello and welcome to this wrestling segment of Top of the Line. My name is Noah Mueller.
My name is Rocco Coppola.
And today we'll be discussing all things wrestling that occurred this past week. So without further ado, let's get ready to rumble. So Rocco, this past Tuesday, we had Tuesday Night Wars between AEW Dynamite Title Tuesday and WWE NXT. We had The Undertaker return to NXT. We had multiple stars come down to NXT. And for Dynamite, we had a bunch of title matches. Rocco, who do you think won this war, and how did you like it?
War? We're calling this a war? It was so lopsided. I mean, AEW only had around, what was the total count? It was 600,000, 500,000, one of those two. Doesn't even matter. There were 300,000+ more than, I'm sorry, I'm messing up my words because it wasn't even that close. NXT blew AEW out of the water. I mean, you had John Cena, Cody Rhodes, The Undertaker, LA Knight, Dominic Mysterio, who's the North American champ, Rhea Ripley. It was so stacked. How could you possibly say this is a war? The only person who's saying this is a war is Tony Khan, who, by the way, absolute child on Twitter. It was easily NXT who won this round, and it's going to continue to stay like that. Because while AEW didn't have a bad show by any means, NXT is under the WWE umbrella, and that's just how it is. You can't compete with WWE. You can't compete with Triple H. You can't compete with that type of talent and legends on one show. It just doesn't happen, no matter which promotion you are. They're in a completely different league, and that's how it's always going to be. There's no war here. AEW is not going to compete.
Yeah, it's 100% proof that AEW is the D brand of wrestling under SmackDown, Raw, and NXT now. Speaking on that topic, Tony Khan, the owner of AEW, he needs to put his phone away because he is going to get himself in some deep, deep waters with what he's saying on Twitter. Rocco, what is your opinion on what he's been speaking on?
I'm going to try and put this as nicely as I possibly can, Noah. I have an issue with Tony Khan. He always on his social media, on his phone. He could be on Twitter or on Instagram or even on a normal show. He cannot keep he cannot keep WWE out of his mouth for 5 minutes. You're having your talent out here taking shots every show against the WWE. They don't even care. But when WWE takes a shot at AEW, it's funny. You can't just be out coping with these cherry-picking stats. Tony put out one stat. He said, never before has a show with John Cena and Undertaker gotten less than 1 million views on it. Nobody cares. That's your way of coping and trying to downplay what WWE did. You did not compete. The only person making this a war is you. You can't attack Triple H or Shawn Michaels and expect to just get away with it easy. No, this is business. WWE don't care about you. They're going to try to put you down as best as they can. And they know you're not competition. They don't care about you. Put your phone away and act like a chairman. His people there, his talent, the workers, they don't see him as a boss. They see him as a friend. Or not even a friend. They see him as a child. That's why CM Punk left. And that's why CM Punk is going to be returning to the WWE. Just you watch. Wait till Survivor Series.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, Tony Khan's almost as annoying as Dave Meltzer, it seems, though. So on the SmackDown brand, the season premiere of Friday Night SmackDown, we had a bunch of surprises that we'll get into in a little bit. But the first one, we finally found out the trade compensation for main event Jey Uso going to Monday Night Raw, and that is Kevin Owens, the Pride Fighter, going to SmackDown. Rocco, what do you think of this move?
Pride fighter indeed. And originally I wasn't really I didn't know what to think about it for the first couple of seconds because I'm just I thought it was going to be Cody Rhodes continuing the story against Roman Reigns. Well, despite The Rock apparently probably going to come back at WrestleMania or before that to start a feud with Roman, we all know Cody Rhodes is most likely going to rematch Reigns at Mania or at least some point down the line. I don't see it happening before a Rock match or after a Rock match, But I feel like now Kevin Owens has an opportunity to really carve out another great singles career because he's a great in-ring competitor. And I like the fact that went this route to not have anything drastic happen between him and Sami Zayn. They've broken up 2 or 3 times already, and you can't do that a 4th time. That's going to the well one too many times, and that doesn't help your business at all. So I think it's a good opportunity for KO, and it's really going to, it's going to elevate him to another level. I would have loved to see him have another feud with Seth Rollins, but I don't know. I think Seth Rollins is going to drop that title to Drew McIntyre. We'll get into another time.
Yeah, I definitely feel like this is a great move to not split Sami and KO up in a harmful way and have another singles match between them. So another surprise, Triple H's announcement. The game came on to SmackDown to announce that GMs will back in WWE. As Adam Pearce, who's been controlling both brands for the past couple of years, has been promoted to the GM of Monday Night Raw exclusively, while new GM for SmackDown, NWA legend Nick Aldis. What do you think of this move?
Adam Pearce. Adam Pearce has, I don't think, no haters. He's good at his job. He's a good character. He's funny too. Could be a little corny at times, but we all love Adam Pearce. I think he deserves the opportunity, and I like the fact that general managers are coming back. You notice how Adam Pearce, he's worked hard the last 3 years running both shows, and this is gonna be good. But I love how the fact that Nick Aldis is a part of the company now. I think he had to retire due to a back injury as an in-ring competitor, but I like the fact that now it looks like we got an actual boss on our hands. Who Roman Reigns, when he came out and confronted Cody, who we'll get into momentarily, it was cool to see Nick Aldis trying to instill authority. He's a big guy in a blue tuxedo, which I love the suit, by the way. But yeah, I think it was really cool to see him, and now hopefully he thrives in this new role. I think it's a great move by Hunter.
Yeah, I definitely think this is going to elevate the SmackDown brand in WWE going forward. Rocco, I have a question for you. You acknowledge your tribal chief today.
I acknowledge my tribal chief.
Because Roman Reigns has returned to the SmackDown brand for the first time since the SmackDown after SummerSlam. Multiple things happened with him. He had a stare down with Cody. This LA Knight feud is probably going to head into Crown Jewel and maybe even Survivor Series. And the show just felt so elevated with him on it. Rocco, how did you feel about the tribal chief coming back?
He's the needle mover for a reason, and he is the head of the table for a reason. Roman Reigns, he is the biggest ratings draw in the company right now, aside from John Cena before his part-time run ends. But yeah, what Roman Reigns is doing the last 3 years has been incredible. He's the best wrestler in the world right now, and it's not even close. So you could put your Adam Coles aside. You could put your MJFs. You could put your Ilya Dragunov for all I care. It doesn't matter. Roman Reigns is the top guy, and that's how it's going to be. You saw when he confronted Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso. The crowd went nuts when he came out and interrupted John Cena. And the match between him and LA Knight's going to be a banger. I just know it. I don't think LA Knight's going to win the title, and I love LA Knight. But Roman Reigns, that guy for a reason. I got nothing else left to say.
Yeah, he's 100% going to elevate LA Knight further past that match. So, Rocco, just a short preview here for the Monday Night Raw season premiere coming up tonight. We have Bronson Reed versus the Ring General Gunther for the Intercontinental Championship, and we also have a tag title match between Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso facing off against the Judgment Day, with the Judgment Day trying to regain their titles. Rocco, I feel like tonight's going to be another good night of wrestling. How do you feel about it?
Not just good. It's going to be another great night of wrestling because Vince McMahon's not in charge no more. That we got that official word from PW Insider and Sportskeeda and even Dave Meltzer, but who cares about Dave Meltzer? Nowadays, it's Triple H running the show, and you just know that this season premiere is going to absolutely deliver. And, I can't wait because, Triple H is probably going to blow our minds at least a couple times. For the matches, I don't know about the tag team match. I think they might want to run it with Cody and Jay a little longer now that Cody's staying on Raw. But Gunther is really good, and I think he's the greatest Intercontinental Champion ever. Or at least is the greatest reign from what I've ever seen. But mark my words, Big Bronson Reed, not very talked about, not very liked, but mark my words, tonight on the season premiere, Bronson Reed is going to deliver a banger match with Gunther because that's what Gunther does.
Yeah, I definitely think Gunther's going to help elevate Bronson Reed and push him to... That's about all we have for you today on wrestling, but don't leave just yet, as next, Andrew and Marco will be going over the European qualifiers on Top of the Line.
Hello, I'm Marco Baldino.
And I'm Andrew Mirzaaghasi.
And today we will not be covering the Premier League. Today we will be covering the UEFA European Championship qualifying games.
So we will have Italy, who, with Italy versus England, would be a 3-1 game. And from that, England is doing first place, I should say.
Yeah, I mean, Italy, I say in that game, had a good performance, even though they did lose 3-1. But I watched the game. They did get the first goal, but ended up giving away that penalty, which was really close. But I feel like I really wish we could have won that game. That was an important game. First place against second place in that group.
Yeah, I could say that. What do you think Italy as a whole has been doing?
I don't know, because we lost like a lot of like the good players, like the older players. So it's starting to become a younger team now. So I mean, inexperience.
It's a shame too because they've won like twice in this championship. One in 1968 against Yugoslavia, which ended with a penalty shootout, and then you would have the Euro 2020. However, because of pandemic, it was 2021, and they won against England for that in penalty shootouts.
Oh yeah, our game was crazy. I was watching that with my Italian family. Went crazy after that. So Italy, they should qualify. Hopefully do. But what I really want them to qualify in is a 2024 World Cup. They better win. They better qualify because I swear I want to go see a game. I don't want to be just cheering USA and say, I believe that we will win.
What's funny is that the last World Cup, my dad told me about the Italian team, and they said they were so good. I mean, they said it's a shame that they didn't qualify at all. So I'm really hoping to see if Italy can qualify to see.
All right, now we go on to Albania. That's in first place. They're surprisingly on a roll in their group.
Yeah,
only one loss.
Yeah, I am surprised, but then again, I'm not really surprised because against their competition, I could probably say, yeah, they can win.
Yeah, I mean, you would expect, I feel like, Poland to be in first place, but Albania is doing great right now.
Yeah, I expect that, but surprisingly, Albania could do it. You know, underdogs can do anything, and I could see it in this team as well. So we have Romania versus Andorra with a Romanian victory of 4-0 with 8 yellow cards in play, which is very, very impressive. With 1 red card was called as well. So what are your thoughts on that?
Must have been a very chippy game for that many yellow cards.
And most of the yellow cards went to Andorra, which I have no clue what they did, but it resulted for one of the players to get kicked out because he had 2 yellow cards, which is 1 red card, with Romania only getting 1 yellow card in that game. I have no clue what happened.
Yeah, I don't know what the coach is telling them after the game, after getting 7 yellow cards. I don't know what the game plan was, but it shouldn't have been that. Getting that many yellow cards and 1 red card.
I have no clue either, honestly.
So, so Romania is in first place right now. And how do you think they're doing it? Because I think Andrew Tate's funding their team. That's how good. That's why they're doing so good.
Maybe, or I don't know what the players have been doing, but after seeing what they did against Andorra, it's kind of impressive with 4-0 with absolutely 1 yellow card in that game. I don't know. We'll see what the future has in store for them. But so far, they're in first. They may qualify.
Oh, yeah. Wales wins against Croatia 2-1 in the 46th minute. Croatia would use 3 subs, which led to the goal by Wales at the 47th minute.
I kind of just find it funny how Croatia decides to use 3 other substitutions, 46 minutes, to bring new flesh blood to, like, see if they could score a goal. Next minute later, Wales scores.
Yeah, I mean, they bring on fresh legs, quick players. But, it's surprising that 3 subs made a change right there for them to score.
Yeah, I didn't expect that either because you expect where new players, they have a new opportunity, they can add a goal to their career, and then instead the other team scores. So we have Switzerland quickly tying against Belarus, which is last minutes. We have 2 goals scored within the 89th and the 90th minute. So basically near the end of the game, which is quite surprisingly.
Yeah, that's important for Switzerland to keep their spot and in their group to hopefully qualify. But yeah, those 2 goals are pretty important, so they don't get that loss and still able to get a point out of that game.
Yeah. So we have our standings for the qualifying teams. So for Group A, for first place, we would have Spain. For Group B, we would have, not surprisingly, France.
They're on a roll.
Yeah, they're on a roll.
They have a great team. Mbappe's doing great.
Yeah, especially Mbappe.
Yeah.
That's doing it. For Group C, not surprisingly, for first place, we have England. And then for Group D, we would have Turkey. For Group E, we would have Albania. For Group F, surprisingly, Belgium. Didn't really expect them to come up in the top.
I mean, they have a pretty good team. I mean, you don't underestimate them because they have a pretty good team.
Yeah.
I mean, sure, De Bruyne's injured. I think their star goalkeeper, Courtois, is also injured, but they're still doing good.
Yeah. For Group G, we would have first place Hungary. And then Group H, we would have Slovenia. And for Group I, for first place is Romania, who we.
Oh yeah, Romania is doing good.
Yeah,
I like to see how they would do in the future.
Yeah, we will see if they could qualify. And then for Group J, not surprisingly, for first place, Portugal with Cristiano Ronaldo. So it's not really surprised they're going to qualify.
I mean, yeah, Portugal has a good team. I feel like they have a lot of talented players on that team.
Yeah.
That's all for today's episode on Top of the Line. Thanks for watching, and we hope to see you in the next one.